All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chocolate Travels. I'm Joseph with Bean to Bar World, and I'm here with Michi from AHERZ Chocolate in Austria. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you too, Joseph. Nice to see you.
Excellent. Nice to see you. So let's start right from the beginning. I know a little bit about your story, but you can
Mm.
fill in the blanks here. So tell me about how a sailing trip ignited your passion to make high quality chocolate from bean to bar. And what did you do before getting into chocolate?
Yeah, I think I'll start with what I did before because I did like a bachelor in renewable energies and then a master's in building infrastructure. So I like focused kind of the whole building side of the energy and like heating, cooling, renewables, solar,
Mm,
photovoltaics, optimization and stuff. And I was working in that field, was kind of happy there, but I also knew that I wanted to travel and kind of an open-end travel. And I decided at some point to do that. And there was kind of an inner guidance, kind of vision, kind of image that like appeared in myself or in my mind, or I can't really like tell where it came from.
mm,
And it was telling me to go to like South America. And
okay.
I was never an American or like a South American, Middle American kind of travel person. I was more like India, Asia, all that region.
Okay. Okay.
But that kind of calling or vision became so strong and so it pointed to this place or to this region that I was like, okay, I will follow that intuition and that path.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to go there without speaking Spanish. So I took half a year of European voluntary service, like a kind of service in the European Union where you can go to another European country and doing like participate in a project there. So I
Mm.
was in a permaculture project there, did some gardening and kind
Sorry, this
of
was where?
this was in Medinaceli. It's in between like Barcelona and Madrid
Oh,
in the
beautiful.
region Soria.
Nice.
And that's where I kind of picked up the basics of the language. And during that time, I already kind of knew that I could go there by boat, like over to the Americas.
Mm.
And I was not sure if it will work out. So I was searching all those like crew bays and those pages where you can find captains who were looking
Oh,
for
okay.
crew.
Okay.
And I applied for
Wow.
like many ships, but nobody really said yes. And then I was like, nah, I'm gonna write everybody who's like on that list. I just like try, even though like they're searching for people with a lot of experience, and I have like just like some sailing kind of
Mm.
experience in smaller lakes here in Austria, so nothing to like compare to like the
Yeah.
sea. But yeah, in the end, like I found a guy from the Emirates that had like a small catamaran and was searching for crew. And he, I think, due to my like engineering background and kind of handyman man skills, he took me. And then after that half a year in Spain, I flew back to Austria, celebrated birthday with my brother, and then went to Cadiz to board the ship. And that's where like the big journey started. And then
Mm.
from there on, like we went to the Canaries, down to Cabo Verde, and then we crossed the Atlantic, like 3 weeks
Wow.
on the water, and arrived in the Caribbean, St. Lucia, and that was the first place where I came in contact with cacao, kind of. And
Mm.
besides getting some Zotter kind of small bars on the airport shop
Yeah.
to have with me. So that's
That's a
also like
nice that's a
yeah.
nice place to land because I've been to St. Lucia and the people are very
Mm.
friendly there. So after a long trip, it must have been nice to meet them.
Yeah, it was nice. And when you have this like big contrast of the marina where all the rich people are, you know, with their boats, like coming from the sometimes the
Mm.
rally that is starting, and then you have like the contrast of the real people living there and in Castries and wherever. So I saw both, you know. I spent
Mm-hmm,
some time
mm-hmm.
in the marina and also some time with some locals there. I was traveling with some Rasta guy there, and he like showed me into like the backwoods, and that's where I saw like a cocoa stick, you know, this like round cylindrical kind of cacao and a little bit of sugar ground in. which they
Mm,
grind into porridge or other kind of meals.
mhm.
And I was asking him like, Raz, like what's that? And he's like, yeah, it's a cocoa stick. It's a cocoa stick. I'm like, okay, like something with coconut, like because he said like cocoa,
Right, right.
like I didn't know like cacao. I just know cacao. I just knew cacao, and yeah, so that was the first contact kind of. And I had this appointment in not disappointments, on I had an appointment in Colombia at the Llamado de la Montaña, which is like a gathering of sustainable living people and indigenous
Okay.
people and people who live like in eco villages. Because I wanted to know like in a society and in a world where like the nuclear family, like father, mother, and the child is living in a house, and with the future ahead, if that kind of structure or that kind of thing is still like able to survive, I'm not sure. So I wanted to see another form of living is possible, and
Mm.
I knew that there are like still like indigenous people or people who are more connected to the earth and to like the natural ways of life. I
Mm.
wanted to learn how that is, and I arrived there, and I met Esteban Yepes there. I don't know if you know him. He's like also an apprentice of cacao, I would say,
Okay.
and the person that is deep in the chocolate, not chocolate, but more cacao world, be it like
Hmm.
indigenous, but also like scientific. And after that event, the Yamado, we went with him to Bogota, and I was at his workshop there, and I saw how chocolate could be like made in like
Hmm.
smaller kind of scales.
Hmm.
But I didn't know that I will do chocolate like after that
What
travel.
did you think when you first saw what he was doing? Was that the first time you've seen anything like that? Was it
Yeah,
pretty impressive?
yeah,
Yeah. Did
yeah.
it get you
Sure.
excited?
I don't know if I think I've never been to Zotter's place before. I think I
Right.
went there when I came back,
Hmm.
but that was the first time that I saw like how to work with cacao and what kind of the flavor of 100% cacao is,
Mm.
how nice beans are tasting, what's like the flavor development,
Hmm.
and yeah, first
Did
glimpse
you
that was
enjoy what you were eating, or was it a bit too strange at first? What did you
it
think?
was for sure strange, like 100% is always intense if you don't know the taste.
Hmm.
I always remember like the words of Nana Marina, who's like, yeah, she was sharing cacao, and then like she said, like, yeah, that's the bittersweet taste of love. So
Nice.
it's interesting.
Wonderful.
So, and but to speed up like the whole story, and then we can dig deeper if you're interested.
Hmm.
I then like traveled like to Ecuador and back to Colombia. I met with my brother in Colombia. Then I met my father in Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, I have been like at some Bribri areas at Bribri indigenous people who were working with cacao. And then I traveled to Nicaragua to spend more time with an elder that I met in Colombia.
Hmm.
And there, friends from Canada also started the idea of starting to work with cacao there from Nicaragua and selling it like on local
So what
markets
was
and stuff.
your goal at this point when you were kind of moving around, meeting people? What was your goal? Was it about cacao or just
No,
traveling in general?
not just traveling in general and just like going with the flow, like
Yeah. Well,
the Yamado really connected me to a lot of people, like being with the
mm,
people in Ecuador, being with
mm,
this elder from that is living in Nicaragua, and with Esteban, and through Esteban also with people in Guatemala, and kind of that's where it went. And
mhm.
for me, that elder in Nicaragua, that was where I kind of felt then my calling, and I spent like half a year, I think, in Nicaragua there.
Okay.
And so all in all, like from starting in Spain till like the final plane back home from Guatemala, it was 1.5
Mhm.
years. And the last month or 2 months I spent with my sister in Guatemala. And Esteban connected me with Isaias from Lava Love Cacao, who's there at the Lake Atitlan,
Okay.
like kind of Maya lineages and Maya blood in his veins. And he was connected with Keith, like the rest in peace, dear Keith. He was working with him and helping him to like produce cacao there. And from my understanding, I think also Keith like helped him to like reconnect like with his like kind or combine his roots, his Mayan
Mm,
roots with cacao.
mm.
And
Okay.
uh and yeah, so and then I came back like with for sure the idea of like making my own cacao for myself, because I knew how to do that. I started the first steps in Nicaragua, roasting beans, shelling beans, just a Vitamix to like grind them, and winnowing just by like throwing and blowing, and like just like the very
And
basic.
how did that turn out?
It was kind of okay, beans from the market, from the normal market are not the super high quality beans.
Right,
And
right.
before coming back, I brought, I think, 10, 12 kilos of beans. No, this was the second time I was there. The first time I brought some 100% cacao from the lake. So from Keith, and also from what else is there? I don't remember the other brand. So I brought like 100% cacao paste to
Right. A
Austria.
lot of the chocolates that you were trying on your travels, was it usually in drinking form when you were introduced to it here and there? How did people usually take it?
Yeah,
Or was
mostly
it
like
mixed?
drinking,
Yeah,
and I don't think I really tried real bean to bar kind of chocolate.
right.
Maybe a little bit at Esteban's place, I think so. But the whole bean to bar world, I entered when I came back.
To Europe, yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so everything like drinking chocolate and cacao, and really like feeling the
And that's a
power of
very
cacao.
different style of cacao and chocolate, right? A lot of people sometimes they travel to South America, Central America, and they try the cacao and the chocolate there, and they're expecting something more traditional, sort of European, Western, and it's
Yeah.
completely different. Their view of what it should taste like and all that is very, very different, right?
I mean, at that time, at that travels, when I drank more cacao, I was already used to kind of the taste of like medicine, like being plant medicine in different kind of ways.
Right.
So I knew like the bitterness that those kind of medicines carry with them. So it was nothing like strange. Of course, I can't like compare it to any drinking chocolate in Austria, because it's like way
Right.
too sweet, and milk and stuff. And I
Yeah.
was mostly drinking it with water. We were doing like we were baking with them, and like doing our first like experiments with cacao there in Nicaragua. I liked it, my first experience. Back in Austria, like I knew that I wanted to do like 100% cacao. I was connected with Esteban. I was connected with my friends in Nicaragua, and also with Isaias in Guatemala. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna get like their kind of creations over here, and spreading them here and learning about cacao. And in the beginning, when I came back, I wanted to go into like a little bit of ferments, like fermented drinks, and like kimchi and sauerkraut. I think Esteban really has inspired me like to like work with different kind of things, and maybe also like a little bit mimicking him.
Okay.
But kind of found my own song there, and my own style and my own path there. And yeah, and I think it really like accelerated when I asked my father if he could imagine like building something with me. And him as like a supportive and also obsessive kind of person, at some point really got like hooked with the whole chocolate world as I was. And I was working, like, I had another job back then,
Yeah.
and I was not full on a chocolate maker. I knew that it needed time and experience, like coming from another field. I had no idea where to get like real beans, equipment, and everything. And yeah, and at some point then we got like a small premier melanger. I brought some beans from Nicaragua who were like afterwards were like horrible, but back then that was the best we had. I had some nice Colombian beans from Esteban that I brought from him, and that he brought to Europe when he was in Paris. And yeah, that's where it started, And puristic as I was back then and still am, I wanted like the most unrefined cane sugar to put into the chocolate, and this could lead like into
Right. Because you
the
were
other
having
coffee
more of
media.
that sort of authentic cacao experience. It wasn't so refined. So when you brought it and you started your own, did you kind of start with one idea and sort of shift more to what people in Austria wanted, or do you feel
Yeah, I
like
would
you
I
stuck with?
would say I was like confronted with the need of the market, kind of,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
since it was also COVID was starting and everything, since everything was kind of unfolding naturally without like a real plan, I was confronted with what the market demands, or like where I
Right.
was selling my chocolate and what would sell, besides like crafting real nice bean to bar chocolate, like and single origin chocolates.
And were you okay to, because a lot of people when they start off chocolate making, they have a certain, the single origins, or for in your case, maybe something a bit more raw. Did it, was it, were you happy to sort of cater to the clients, or was there a bit of a struggle there?
Um, Both, I would say. Both,
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, I loved like sharing like some nice chocolates, and people really like got to know like what kind of good chocolate is and what's the difference. Of course, like also like uh confronted with the price of bean to bar chocolate,
Mm,
like confronted the people with the price kind of. And I always like, and still like with my bars, they're kind of a gift to people, because like for the size of the bars and the work and the
right.
scale that we
Right.
have, it's still not kind of an economically right step, but it's kind of my dedication and my way of getting out there and
Hmm.
getting the word of cacao and chocolate out there,
Hmm.
and also learning. I see these years as my learning years.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
don't think like a chocolate maker falls out of the sky, and I think a little bit of humbleness in the beginnings is never wrong.
Yeah, I think
Of course,
it's
of course, if you dive deep and head first into chocolate and you need to make money and stuff, then there's no like time for humbleness. You gotta like pull on pants down and go.
what would you say, knowing what you know now about cacao from your travels and making chocolate in Austria there, what makes for high quality cacao? What determines high quality, and what do you need to look for or taste for when you're
Hmm.
sourcing cacao?
For me, like it's kind of a special connection, like for me, cacao, there always needs to be a kind of special connection which I can't explain, to
Connection
be
to the
honest.
cacao,
Like
or connection to like the region and the people there?
it doesn't matter. I would say
Mm,
like to the cacao, like the
okay.
region, everything like comes like after that for me. Like when I tr taste cacao, be it like from other makers or beans or now 100% mass or anything, there is something that I can't pin down. It's like this kind of,
Mm,
I would say, like spiritual connection that I have with that plant that tells me, okay, that's the right thing to work with. Like,
okay.
I remember, like, I was not allowed to make chocolate when I came back, when I here in Austria as an engineer, like I'm allowed to open like a business, but I'm not allowed to like process kind of cocoa beans and make like chocolate
Right.
out of
Without
the.
the permits, you mean?
Exactly. So
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
to like do like a course of coming like from left fields to be like a chocolatier, kind of pâtissier, kind of working with
Oh,
sweets.
you had to
So
take a culinary
yeah,
course.
yeah, for sure.
Oh,
For
you
sure.
couldn't
Otherwise,
just
you're
get
not
a,
allowed. No, 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 no.
oh,
I,
really?
I
Oh,
I
wow.
thought so, and I reached out to all like the regulatory like kind of entities
Interesting.
here. And it was interesting because I was like, yeah, just to start, I just want to make like 100% cacao
Yeah,
and just want
yeah.
to make like drinking chocolate. And that guy was like, no, 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 you can't like do that. And drinking chocolate, no, like making like something with milk, then you're like, oh my God, with milk, it's like even more difficult. And I was like, hey man, no,
Interesting.
I just want to like roast beans, make like 100%. And like, I don't want to make like drinking chocolate like a drink. I want to do like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
100% to drink like with whatever you
mm-hmm,
want.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then he was
Interesting.
like, no, 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 that's not possible. I was like, cool. I like, do I learn in that course kind of how to roast cacao beans and everything? He's like, no.
No.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that's like a
That's
smart
an
thing.
interesting point because, even when I was in pastry school years ago, there was really nothing, even just the chocolatier component, there was really nothing. So when it comes to the chocolate world, a lot of people are pretty much on your own, learning as you go, maybe learning from other people in the industry. There really isn't much in the way of good, proper education as far as that goes.
For
So,
sure. Don't get me wrong. Like I really appreciate what I learned, and I
of
really
course, yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
everybody that works in that field, and
yeah.
like the kind of like craft and kind of abilities you need to have, and skills you learn in that
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
areas. Like could be super useful and was super useful.
Hmm.
And it's something where like, should I do like should I go deeper into that field?
Pastry, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, I don't like baking,
But
kind
it's
of.
interesting too because chocolate always gets clumped with pastry and baking, but really they're so different. They're
Yeah,
completely
I mean now
different.
now it changed. Now they have like a chocolatier kind of
Okay,
study again, and you can really go into that field.
interesting.
I
Yeah,
think they also saw like that there are some bean to bar makers, like we are now like a few like in Austria besides
right.
like Salty.
Yeah, good, good.
And they changed it a little bit. But still, I just like learned how to temper like a little bit and make like some decoration for cakes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that
Well,
was
that's
it,
helpful.
like it's helpful for sure. But
Hmm.
if you really try to like craft flavor, yeah, that's not much that really
Yeah.
helps. It's
Yeah.
just like an optical kind of thing, and you work with like the kind of standard African nutty,
Hmm.
chocolatey flavor profile.
So which origins did you choose, or do you think of it in that way? Because you're saying you just go by feel of
Exactly,
what.
exactly. So let me get to that point. I was like confronted of I want to like sell some chocolate, but I'm not allowed to make some chocolate. So I have to find some kind of bean to bar maker that I can partner with
Mm,
to craft some bars that I can sell. And besides Zotter, like the biggest kind of person after Zotter in Austria is Martin Meyer. I don't know if you know him,
no.
but he's like a smaller maker
Okay.
in Upper Austria. Besides like Sotter with their, I don't know, 150 tons or what they do a year or
Right.
more. I don't know, like the craziness of the Sotters. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, cool. I'm getting into like the bean to bar world, and all the people that I got connected in the bean to bar world were super nice and sharing and exchanging and everything. And with Martin, like the first encounter was a little bit different. It was like just like this kind of pastry to pastry. Like, what do you
Mm,
want to start? First of
mm.
all, for sure, he looked at me like, yeah, you crazy boy. What do you want to do there? Like,
Yeah.
did you think about that? And nevertheless, like I met him and we were talking, and I bought some bars of his, like single origin ones, to like see which flavors I actually want to work with and which beans I want to like work with. And so he had like from like Colombia, he had something, he had from something from Guatemala, from Belize, I think. He had one of the first batches from Alto Beni back then, and so Bolivia, and
Mm,
also had Haiti. And I would say like and then my dad was already on board, so he was going everywhere with me, like to Zotters
mm,
and to Martin we did everything. And
mhm,
then we did like a blind tasting of those bars, and we
mm.
decided what we wanted to go with. And like the
Nice.
Haiti one, just hands down, had like the most unique connection.
Mm,
And for both of us, it was clear we wanted to work with Haiti, be it like the kind of different flavor profile that also Martin was able to like craft out of that bean, because or maybe also special kind of sugar that he used, I'm not sure.
okay.
But I think he really crafted something special with that bar. And the Haiti one, I like resold kind of one-to-one under my brand, naming him at the back of the bar to like
Hmm.
really show who was the actual maker of that bar. And then
That's
I'm
nice.
kind of the distributor there. And the other bars, I told him my idea and told him with which kind of bean or flavor profile I wanted that kind of bar to be created, which was back then like um, a pumpkin seed orange dark chocolate.
Okay.
And I had in mind, I don't remember, I think like a Colombian bean.
Mm,
And then he said like he had this Venezuelan bean who would work also well, and he would suggest to use that one.
hmm,
And it
hmm.
was a Sur del Lago back then, and
Oh,
we
okay.
went for that. And those were like the first two bars that I sold,
Yeah.
beside having my own other bars on the market.
Hmm, hmm.
And that's how I approached the market.
How would you define high quality chocolate? Now that there's a lot of chocolate makers out there and a lot of people producing really good chocolate and this and that, what factors do you feel determine a high quality chocolate?
I read that question and I was thinking about that, and it's something that's not easily pinnable down for me.
Mm,
'Cause some bars that I tasted that like also had like some Academy of Chocolate or chocolate awards won, I did not like, and then they were just amazing. For me, good chocolate and good cacao is something that kind of touches you in a special way and is very like crafted on the palate, I would say.
mm.
Also, this year, Chocoa tried different chocolates, also from makers like who are long-time makers, and from some I was just not very impressed. I was actually like
So
surprised that kind of those some of those bars won something. Maybe it's just like the batch is different, but in terms
when you
my
say
palate,
not impressed, are you talking about the general flavor profile? Is there some off flavor? Or was
I
it
would
just
say
too
like
simple?
I would say some flavor profiles. I think knowing some beans and knowing some like what's inside of a bean or could be inside of a bean, I was
Mm,
kind of missing that part. I mean, for sure, like not every like fruity bean needs to be like fruity, like as an expression
right,
or as a
right.
creation. But if you have like a fruity bean and you have no fruitiness in your final chocolate,
Mm,
then I wonder like did you like understand kind of
mm,
the bean itself? Like
right,
I
right.
think every bean has its characteristic and its point where it wants to, where it shines the most,
Mm,
kind of.
I see what you're
And
saying.
with some bars, I was just like, that's missing the point, kind of, or like sometimes like the fineness, the ground, the particle size was just like off. Was like,
Are you very particular about texture, particle size? Is that very important to you? Because there are some styles of bars now that are not super smooth, but the flavor is really good.
yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it needs to be like in a balance, you know. I don't expect like from a Modica kind of chocolate to be to have like the nicest ground, you know. But
Right.
if that for me, like a Modica one is still like a weird one. But some of the Modica bars that I tried is just like amazing. I
Yeah.
like is this orange type of thing in there. I tasted orange and was like, fuck,
Mm,
that's just like
mm,
cacao and like super rough ground, like
right.
not even brown sugar and just amazing. So I think like
Right.
there's a balance in between that.
I think it can
But
be done, just like any ingredients, well, it can be if with the right mindset, people can highlight, what you're supposed to highlight, whether it's a rough ground, a fine ground, whatever it is. I think it is possible, but there has to be some thought behind it. You can't just do whatever you feel like and expect it to taste good, right?
yeah, I mean, some people do do that, but
Yeah. And like you said,
if
some
they
people,
if they get very far with that, that's the question. You know, like in
yeah,
the end, like I mean, we're talking like high level chocolate, high
right,
level cacao here, you know.
right, right.
What the end consumer like knows as good chocolate is like far like miles away from that.
Yeah,
Of course, like
yeah.
they understand like good flavor, but they don't really understand good flavor, you know.
Yeah, no, that's true. And a lot of makers, obviously, they want to have their string of different origins. So as long as it is from Peru or it is from Colombia, doesn't as long as it tastes different, it doesn't really matter. Whereas
Yeah,
I see what you're saying as far as like what is the bean really supposed to be expressing,
yeah,
and capture that, which is true. That's I think that's a key to a good craftsmanship is able to highlight that. Yeah.
yeah.
Are there any stories or failures in the kitchen that or something that surprised you that you wanted to share?
I mean, I wanted to start that story before, but I think now is like the perfect point. Like as I said, like I started very like puristic, you know.
Right.
And so un unraffinated, like super like raw kind of cane sugar has still like this molasses type of side of it, which almost overpowers all the or like is
Mm,
very, very like overpowering to say,
mm,
so to say.
mhm.
And we were crafting bars like from different kind of cacao, and in the end, everything tasted kind of as caramel, you know, like
Yeah.
as
Oh,
and it
caramel,
was
caramel.
interesting
Yeah.
because like my taste was kind of there, the taste of my dad was not yet there, and but he was like, because he was the first person to like make some bars because he could not wait any longer, you know. He was calling me like, Michael, I have everything ready. I'm gonna start the melange, you know. I'm gonna start the melange. I'm like,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
go for it, man. Like I'm not holding you back. Like I'm gonna join. Like when I join, you know, like I need to finish some work here in Vienna, and then
Yeah.
when I join you, like I'm happy like to join you. So we started, and like we were crafting like the first bars then together, and we were tasting it, and I like it was horrible. It was really horrible, you know, like but he was because it was like those Nicaraguan market beans, like
Mm,
I don't know how long they were sitting, how bad they were fermented.
mm.
And the cacao was bad, the sugar was overpowering, and it was just like horrible. But he was like, "Yeah, I like friends of mine, like I gave them to try, and they were like all super like excited, like, yo, wow, that's
Yeah.
different, you know, that's different."
Yeah,
Like,
different. Yeah,
yeah,
that doesn't mean it's good.
it's different. Yeah, that's like the
Yeah.
best thing to
When you're
like
starting
explain that.
out, it's better to ask strangers because sometimes your family and friends are not going to be honest with you.
Yeah, true. And also I think during our first visit at Sepp's and Julia's place, like the Zotters, we brought some bars and I told him like like I would not like give it to him like to try yet. I think we're not there yet, but he was just like this little kid, you know, and like showing him the bars, and he was trying, and he was like, yeah, nice. I like the texture. In terms of flavor, like again, I will show you something. Then he gave us this like 45-minute private tour into like the factory, and like
Yeah, yeah,
told us a little bit about roasting and
yeah.
their process and everything. So he tried to like nudge us a little bit there into the right direction. He was also super grateful because he was like, yeah, man, if I started out back then, like 25 years ago, there was nobody. I was like alone, kind of doing my thing
Mhm,
there.
mhm,
I would have really enjoyed like having people like you that are also getting into that craft and like
mhm,
exchanging
mhm.
and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It can be a bit of a lonely world,
it can
sometimes.
be, and I think especially if you started like Zotter and or also like
Yeah,
Market
especially
like some years ago,
especially 10,
and
20
you
years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I can't imagine like, and also like back then, like showing like the people who don't understand kind of craft chocolate, or to extent
Yeah.
that we are understanding it now,
Yeah.
the price of a chocolate back then would have must have been like outrageous for people. Like, how
Yeah.
can a chocolate bar cost that much? It's
And that's
not.
probably why he went the route of all these different flavors and crazy flavors, is because that's how he probably was able to survive, at that time when nobody really understood bean to bar chocolates.
I don't think that. I think
No?
like I think Sepp is like, he's like an artist, and his medium is chocolate, you know, like, and
Okay,
he's
okay.
like this kind of driven crazy creator that
Right.
just needs to push out flavors and like
Okay.
thinks about wild flavor combinations and how to craft something where you like put it on your tongue and you melt it down slowly, and then
Mm,
slowly step by step you're getting the flavors and
mm,
everything. And of course, having like all those different kind of creations help. The more like diverse you are with your chocolates, the easier it gets, because
yeah.
then there's a bar for everybody, you know. Because Zepp was super he was successful, you know. He
Yeah.
had like
Yeah.
this in Graz, in the city of Graz, in the city center. He had like this small cafe, or he overtook like an old cafe,
Mm,
and he didn't want to do like the normal pastry work. He was like,
mm,
no, I'm not going to do like the Punschkrapfen. No, I'm not going to do like the normal stuff. I'm going to do tilted cakes and wild
okay.
creations, and I'm gonna have like not like three teas in my cafe. I'm gonna have 25 different teas, you know.
Mm,
He was
mm,
always this over the top and then kind of crazy different kind of
mm,
guy,
mm.
and that
That's
helped
amazing.
him like, yeah,
But that style of his definitely helped him too, because a lot of
for sure.
makers nowadays, they start off single origins and then they start doing the milk and then they start doing the interesting flavor because they realize they kind of have to survive.
They kind of have to, because surviving only from dark chocolates, you have to be at a scale and a distribution system that is just not feasible, or not
Yeah.
like
Yeah. And you're
yeah.
creating a product that the general public still doesn't appreciate for the value that you're selling it, right?
For
So
the value, and you're like just like the next dark chocolate on the market, you know,
yeah,
on
for
the
them.
bigger market.
Exactly.
And you can't like go into like a supermarket and be like the next chocolate there.
So
I think
when you were starting to make your first Nicaragua chocolate, the beans were bad. Were you feeling discouraged, or you're like, no, this is just the starting. Let's keep going. Let's figure it out.
that's the starting. That's why I
Yeah.
didn't want to go like heads first. I knew like the whole roasting situation, and like I did not have an idea of like
Mm,
how to roast, where to
mm,
roast, and
mm,
what to do. And you know, everything was bit by bit, you know, like the kind of rite of passage thing with the winner, as that everybody does, kind of, who starts. And it was experimentation and a lot of exchange, and also like in the beginning, I really have to give a shout out here to like Armin from Karuna. I think he was one of the people that up to this day like is helping me if I have a problem,
nice.
and we're exchanging, and it's just so nice to have like sharing people in that community that can
Mm,
help you, and then
hmm.
that don't hold back, you know, on kind of secrets. Of course, we
Yeah.
all have our own style,
Yeah.
and we are not in the same region
Yeah.
if you're not into like a reseller of bars and everything. So we don't like take any market share from each other
Mm,
yet.
hmm.
I will say yet, because it's getting bigger, everything gets more
Right.
crowded and
Right.
everything, and there's going to be some like market grab from some kind of brands,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
approaches.
mean that's tough. You have to deal with that, but I think it could be done in a professional manner, and with each new maker has access to a new customer base in a way
For
to,
sure.
create new customers.
That's the one side, and the other side is, okay, how big do you want to get,
Yeah,
like
not
what's your
everybody wants to be huge with satellite locations. Some people just want a little shop and be local, right?
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
And let's speak about customers, and the idea of fair trade. So I find that, there are some customers that sort of cling on to that fair trade, but there's a lot of customers that are disillusioned by it. They kind of like, is it true? I don't really believe it. So, practically speaking, what can consumers know about your sources of cacao as far as transparency, ethics, fair trade?
I mean, for me, like the most important thing when it comes to like educating kind of the customer here is of being transparent, that it's like direct trade, but it's also not like direct trade, like I also have some kind of logistics person in between there, some kind of cacao broker.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, I'm for sure like in contact with the people and exchange like directly with, I don't know, Juan Pablo from Nawa Chocolate and everything. But in terms of logistics and the amounts that I am able to work with right now, it's not feasible of like importing a container here, like
Right.
directly
Yeah.
myself, even though
Yeah.
like that's the plan, like in the end, to like work as directly as possible. But there's so coming back to that, like fair trade as a label itself is something that is the first kind of not greenwashing, but kind of the first label that the broader audience kind of recognizes as something that is more, that has where a farmer kind of has more benefits than
Right. Right.
going like the conventional route,
Mm-hmm.
even though you have like those kind of mass balances and whatever, and it doesn't say anything about like how the farmer actually treats like the soil, and
Mm-hmm.
if they're like really working in a good way with nature and with the environment,
Mm-hmm.
so also being transparent there with people that it's a good first step, like to go
Right.
with fair trade. And I
Yeah.
also see like some newer chocolate brands also here in Austria using like fair trade as kind of their unique selling point in their chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
which for me is not like a unique selling point. It's just like the like kind of smallest hurdle you can take to
Right.
be kind of
Right.
perceived higher value.
Right.
And it doesn't say anything about the actual kind of appreciation of nature and the work of the farmer, which is still like a colonial type of situation and
Mm-hmm.
problem that we have there, and
Mm-hmm.
still also me as a chocolate maker here that buys like beans without any tax and then like transform it here to like a higher value product
Mm-hmm.
is like using the old colonial kind of rat's tails that we still carry up to this day, and also being transparent about that I try to like do my best and do like the most sustainable and pay farmers or pay like the whole value chain there as good as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And the more stable I will get and the more bigger I will get here, the more I want to do actual work on that side, because I always have the words of Christian from Betulia in my ears, who was like, yeah, I can't, like, Betulia cacao from Colombia, you know
Mm-hmm.
him.
Mm-hmm. I
And
don't know them personally, but I know of them.
maybe you should interview him. Like,
Yeah.
he's a super nice, crazy guy, and he's living in Swiss mostly, So and he's coming like from the industry laser patent kind of
Mm,
side. It's like a made man, and now he works with cacao. Like
mm,
he told, if I remember correctly, he was like, I calculated everything through, and if I would really like make a business that kind of is stable and fair for everybody, like a kilo of cacao would cost like 30 euro or $30.
mm,
And I was like, where we're not living in a world where like I as a maker gonna pay like $30, or I could buy like beans for $30 for sure, but it's gonna be like very tough to really
yeah.
like carry that kind of cost onwards.
Yeah. Because then you're
So
catering to a very niche clientele, right? Who's going to
Yeah,
buy
and
that
I
as
and
well,
I
you know?
hopefully I hopefully have the abilities to also cater flavor by wise because only using like expensive and good beans doesn't make like a good chocolate, you know.
Yeah, and that's the same for fair trade. You know, fair trade for me, as far as quality goes, is kind of meaningless because there's no fair trade has nothing to do with flavor, quality, anything like that. You can't, you know, usually when I see the fair trade, automatically my brain goes, it's probably not going to taste that good, you know?
Yeah.
So,
For me, it's the same, but you know, for people who have no idea, it's like the
all right,
first thing they're like,
exactly.
ah,
Yeah.
cool, I'm getting like a better kind of chocolate, you know,
Yeah.
even though it's most likely not much better than a normal one.
I feel like today that fair trade certification in chocolate actually hurts makers, small scale craft chocolate makers, because you guys are usually more direct trade, more transparently trade. Cacao farmers are getting more. You have a higher quality cacao and product, but you get overlooked by the consumer because they don't see any of that. They don't know any of that just by looking at your bar, right? So
That's true. That's true. And there are only like a few beans that are not only organic but also fair,
mhm, mhm.
kind of certified, because it's as you said, like it's doesn't make that much sense
Yeah.
in terms of spending that money there because
How can consumers then who purchase your chocolate, how can they assure themselves that this is better than fair trade? What should they look for? What should they know? What can they read?
you mean like on my bars
Yeah,
or on bars in general?
yours specifically, but in general
Yeah.
too.
I
Either
mean,
one.
on my bars, like I have a QR code on there that guides you to my homepage. And even though it's not like directly set up, like each like a Haiti bar shows like the
Okay.
Haiti kind of site. It's more like a link kind of to a link tree, and from the link tree you like point downwards
Mm,
to any other page.
okay.
But there's always like a little bit written on the bar itself, and I go deeper like on the web. So you read about like the kind of cooperative, the kind of
Mm,
genetics, the kind of flavor profile. I don't like put it down like to farm gate price and everything, like for example, Uncommon or something, or some people do, but I try to share as much information as possible. And I think everybody who knows me and my work and gets to know me and my work knows that I truly care, you know, and that's something that's always a good thing to know for customers that they can reach out and they can ask. I don't remember what she was asking me, but I had like this woman calling me and she had a question and we were talking, I think, for 20 minutes and I explained her like in full detail when I have the time, like I explain people like what it is that they have to look out for, like
hmm
what
hmm
their actual question is, even though like they have a question, but sometimes it's not the actual thing that they want to know.
mm.
Yeah.
And do your clientele in Austria, are they concerned about that sort of thing? Is that questions you get often? You know, is this fair
Yeah,
trade? Is it
for
transparent,
sure.
direct?
It's,
Yeah.
I think, like if people don't know my chocolate, that's the first questions that they have, like, where's the
Mm,
cacao? Where's the chocolate
mm,
from?
mm,
And then they're super surprised when I tell them that I make those chocolates. They're
mm.
like, making those chocolates? Like, what do you mean?
Wow. Because
And
it's still unheard of in Austria, right? There's not a lot of
no, there
bar
isn't. I
makers.
mean, if you understand the whole thing, it's clear why, because I could like buy fair trade, also organic kind of ready-made chocolate
Yeah,
for like lesser than I buy some beans for, you know,
yeah,
like if you have like kind of economical pressure and kind
right.
of need to run a business,
Yeah,
it doesn't make that much sense to start that route in
yeah,
pastry, you know.
yeah. But it's interesting because they're, you know, in Austria, obviously they respect and appreciate quality baked goods, pastries, breads, things like that. And there's
For
many,
sure, for
many, many
sure. I mean, like
independent
there's
bakeries and pastry shops. And that's true for a lot of places. But for some reason, when it comes to chocolate, it's harder for people to adjust their view, you know, on the pricing and
Yeah, it's not there yet, you know,
no,
like if you take, I don't know, like Paris or like France or like also Belgium, you know, where you have like more like the chocolatier and also like if you have like Bonat or have like sixth generation
right.
kind of working with cacao, amazing, you know, you have that kind of culture.
Yeah,
In Austria, we kind of lost that culture due to like industrialization and scaling up and everything, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I think with having the unicorn Sotter here, it's like it's amazing, you know,
Mm,
like he
mm,
really like he really opened kind of the market and like has shown people what chocolate can be.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
still kind of this like bling bling rainbow Willy Wonka
Hmm.
wonderland where people go to like really indulge and
Right.
just like eat chocolate, and this like this kind of Willy Wonka dark side of chocolate, I would say, which kind of is the picture of people that they have with chocolates. I think you see it with those kind of chocolate museums
Mm.
and kind of entities that are like, you know, in Europe, multinational, that has a chocolate like museum and
That's a
shop
good
there and
point.
there and
Yeah.
there.
And it's
It's
about
like a concept
indulgence.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
about like having sweet stuff and like eating as much as possible, because if you buy it in the store, it's either expensive or
Mm.
or you wouldn't,
Right.
because then you're full, you know. But if you're like at Sutter's place, you can eat as much as you want for the entry fee.
Right.
If you
Right.
are at the chocolate museum, you can like make your bars and sprinkle it with everything that is there, even though it doesn't taste very well in the end, be it like the chocolate, but also the whole like toppings that you put on that. But you're there, and it's this like overwhelming and kind of, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
weird kind of greed, I would say, that like
Mm.
it comes out there through that,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
through
Yeah.
this.
I think that's something we have to break is that mentality people have as chocolate as sort of indulgence and um, very sort of naughty in a way, and it's not sort of a sophisticated, respected product by a lot of people, but
I
it
mean,
should be. Should be.
it should be, and if it's actually like traded correctly and made correctly in a good way, I think then it also would be. But
Yeah.
since somebody else is paying the price, being like that they don't get any money, or they pay the price with health, or nature
Mm.
is paying the price, which like is makes the chocolate then cheap.
Mm.
It's like this kind of endless kind of yeah, sweet that we have that tastes amazing because it touches us in a very special way. Even though like mostly it's like sugar, but also like you know, for me, like how I understand cacao and chocolate, it wants to be out there in the world, you know, and it wants to
Mm.
make people happy in a way.
Mm.
Like I think that's like the essence of chocolate and cacao. It really like it wants to be out there and make people happy and joyful, you know, enjoy themselves, enjoy life, you know.
Mm.
And I think that's also like the essence of the tree, you know, like if the tree is like really happy in nature, if like people are taking care of that tree in a kind of agroforestry system, like then
Mm.
that's the happiest world we can live in, you know, like
Mm.
that's like perfect. And somebody has not only like cacao, he also has like bananas, he has like,
Mm.
I don't know, like woods, he's like taking
Yeah.
care of the earth because you need like to put inputs in there.
Yeah.
Like people are, if you're doing chocolate like from scratch, you know, like with metate and like with comales and everything, like it's so much work, you know, all those kind of that effort is kind of removed, and that makes it so kind of indulge worthy because it's everywhere and it's cheap and it's sweet
Yeah.
and
It
stuff.
makes it less precious.
Otherwise, if you would have to like guard those trees and like take care of those trees and like take like the mortar and like really like ground the chocolate and put the sugar in there for hours, or like power a machine like to really ground it fine, like everybody would understand why back in like in Spain and everywhere, like people like strong men or people would go like from house to house like to ground the chocolate for like the normal people, because it's like
Hmm.
work, you know?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
although that side is like totally removed, like we have no
Yeah.
idea. Like if I sometimes I show like people, like I have like in my booth at the stands, I have like a cocoa pot. Ah, cool, first time that I see that. Oh, cool, first time like that I see like a cocoa bean.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's just like this wild kind of we're so far away
It's
from
very,
cacao that's,
yeah,
yeah,
very
it becomes kind of
removed.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Compared to other foods, people have a much better conception of how it's made. But when it comes to chocolate, people are in this world of they have no conception at all of where it comes from, what it's made. Most people do not. So,
Yeah.
and like you said, that
And
divide, that separation, it's harder for people to respect it and appreciate it.
how should they, you know, like it became so big that you only see like the big Willy Wonka factory, where on the one side like
Yeah. Yeah.
the trucks are going in,
Yeah.
And on the other side, the trucks are coming out. And then like in the supermarket, we see the bars, you know.
Yeah.
And with Sotter and the size of Sotter, it's still kind of similar, you know, like it's for bean to bar scale, it's like humongous, you know, like and but for industry size, it's like the small thing that it smallest like kind of plant size that you can realize. And but it's like this standing behind the glass and just seeing like big machinery. You know, where's the person that like
Yeah.
is grounding the metate, you know? Like you maybe see it on a picture, but it's not felt, you know, like every
Yeah.
time when I do like a tour at my place and I tell the people, yeah, okay, like the big melanger runs like 96 hours. And they were like,
Yeah.
what?
Everyone's always surprised by that.
96 hours? Like, are you crazy, man? You know, like I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you want fine flavor and super nice chocolate, you know, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Like imagine like metate, you know, like for how long you're gonna like metate to like not even like access that kind of particle size, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But
somebody
I
was
think
saying, I was talking to someone who was saying that the reason why the consumers are not so educated is because the few companies that manufacture chocolate for the world probably have no interest in that because
yeah,
and that's
for
true,
sure,
you know,
man.
once you educate,
Yeah.
once you tell them where the cacao comes from and how chocolate's made, they're going to start asking questions. And
Yeah,
that's a bad thing if you don't want them to know what's happening, right?
yeah,
So
true.
that's why as makers, you have to have a part of your business has to be educating your consumers, showing them things and letting them
I
know.
would I would say nowadays if I could give like a tip for like new people who want to start or like get into like that industry, which think about it like in a good way, you know. I would say have that kind of side really as your major like factor
Yeah.
of your business because
Yeah.
you know because it's with everything, you know, if you can market and if you can like spark the interest in people, not spark like in terms of money but spark in terms of sparking
Hmm.
interest like in
Hmm.
people about what you do or what it is that you do.
Yeah.
I mean you're halfway there anyways because like then the person's going to be interested and it's going to be like, yeah, cool, where can I get that? And even though like the machinery might not be there or whatever, like if you can spark that interest and if you can transfer that knowledge, then you're gonna be successful, you know.
What would you say are the most challenging aspects of starting a chocolate making business today? Are there one or two things that people should keep in mind?
I would say think about the kind of scale that you really need
Mm.
to
Other people have said that too. Why is that important?
because it's a super labor intensive and money machine intensive kind of thing to start, you know. Because of course you can like your homemade chocolate in a premier grinder or in a cheap like Indian kind of stone grinder and roasting in your oven and then winnowing with a hair dryer is like it's nice and you can go for it, like do that, experience that and make your own chocolate, like
Hmm. Yeah.
more power to you, go for that because that in that way you experience the kind of the flavor and you experience how what it is that this plant that is inside that plant kind of and also what makes the craft, you know,
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
But going from that kind of, yeah, it's nice and a few friends want it to having like a successful business with supporting yourself and also other people. And it's chocolate, it's not something where that you can do like on your own. I haven't seen like makers really like make it like on their own, like maybe I don't know, in a special kind of education kind of way. But otherwise, you need to partner with other people. And if you want to go like full on bean to bar, I want to make everything. Everything's gonna be like made from like the beans, from the unroasted hazelnuts, from the whatever. You better think about scale and also about the money and also how everything flows, you know, like how much kilos do you need to go through in a week,
Mm.
in a
Mm.
day, in a month, in a year?
Yeah.
Did you think about seasons? Because in summer here you don't sell of chocolate,
Right.
and in winter you sell kind of okay, but in summer not. So think about that. Like how do you sustain yourself,
Yeah.
or build kind of a system where you're able to like slowly grow into what you are or what you want to become, you know?
Yeah. I think that's very that's probably the most feasible way, is where you kind of start on the side, you have your day job, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Maybe you join forces with a couple other people and you kind of grow it on the side and then sort of see where it goes. But yeah, a lot of people think I'm going to make delicious chocolate and people are going to buy it. But
Mm.
it doesn't work. It's not that easy. It
Yeah,
doesn't sell
I mean,
itself.
take take my story as an example for that, you know, like I'm still not there where I want to be, kind of. Not
Hmm.
that I really know where I want to be. I think that's
Right.
like the other side of the coin, you
Yeah.
and talk to other makers. Like I was reaching out to like new makers in Germany, and also in like, well, like I met a girl from who is doing like glad chocolate in Porto, and I
Oh, yeah,
exchanged
yeah.
like what I learned, you know.
Yeah.
Because like, with the guys in Germany, like I'm super sorry, they're not in business anymore. Tried to reach out, and I was like saying like, yeah, if you want to exchange, like I'm really open for that because I know the struggles. I see myself in you. And
Mm-hmm.
also I see that, yeah, that's gonna be like very hard. And they were like, no, I don't want to exchange. And they survived, I think, a year or 1.5 years, and then they're
Mm-hmm.
out of business because it was just like the idea was like wild, you know, and their kind of setup and approach was just like not working. And if you don't think
Mm-hmm.
about that, how to sustain like two people in there,
Yeah.
then it's not gonna work. Like I'm kind of blessed here at that place that I can really build it how it wants to like come out there, or how finally I envision it.
Yeah. I think
If you don't have
if you have a lot of money, then you can sort of start off big, but otherwise you kind of have to grow organically, I think. Um, in
For
regards to
sure.
chocolate, that's what's
I
most
mean,
sustainable.
of course, you can start like with a lot of money into something and with a nice marketing in there. But in the end, you also need like people who can really like craft chocolate, because otherwise you're just like another brand on that market. And sooner or
Yeah.
later, if like you're not that good and people don't like the things that you do, then you might, even though you had like a lot of money and a nice marketing plan, it will not work out because there's like this intersection of craftsmanship, of kind of the business side of thing, and also of the actual like market and flavors that work in your region, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that Beta Bar chocolate right now attracts, if you're in it, usually be out of passion. People who are in it usually don't mind not making a lot of money because they just really, really want to do this. They believe in it. So a lot of people that end up starting bean to bar businesses, I find, are not hardcore entrepreneurs or business minded people, right? So, it's going to take a little bit more time for you. You have to figure things out a lot more because you don't come from that perspective.
For
But you
sure.
need that too. If you want to sustain this craft, if you want to keep the essence of it, if you want to keep creating incredible chocolate and educate people, you can't just be a minded person who just wants to jump in and start a business. You have to come from background of knowledge and passion and experience, right? But the downside of that is that those people don't usually have the business mind, right?
Mm.
That's what I see. I don't know.
That
That's my
that's
interpretation
true.
of it.
That's true. I'm totally with you on that point. It's
Yeah.
like the creative that is trying to
Yeah.
start or make a
Crazy
business.
people with big ideas, not sure how to start, but they just start.
True,
Yeah.
true, and it's important. It's just like that you need to find like a balance and a way how to sustain yourself, you know, like
Yeah.
how to really like be that kind of crazy person that likes flavors and wants to like get like bean to bar into the world and uh and be happy that you don't make a fortune, you know. If
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
don't set it up correctly, I think like there are other examples where people are making a fortune because they were at the right time, at the right place,
Hmm.
with the right product and with the right mindset, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I think more and more people are gonna get into like the bean to bar space, and it's gonna be even more tough because
Right.
who needs another Tanzanian bar, you know, like kind of as an example, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah. No, I know what
Tanzania
you
in the
mean.
last year not like don't get me wrong, Simran, like I love your beans, like they're nice, you
Of
know, but
course.
it's just
Yeah.
like, is there space for another cacao
Yeah, no,
chameleon
that's
out
something
there?
that's definitely worth thinking about because there isn't. I keep coming back to the same idea of like local bakeries. there's so many bakeries everywhere you go in the world, and they're using the same flour, the same ingredients, but it's more of a local thing. They sell out
Yeah.
locally. They're not shipping to other countries all the time. So I wonder if chocolate can replicate that in a way.
I
Um,
think I think that's where it's I don't want to compare it like to craft beer or anything because I think it's a little bit different. But it's like they're gonna be like small chocolate makers and small shops that are able to like sustain themselves in that
mhm,
kind of way. I think like I don't remember her name, but like the brand is Kürzi Cacao in like in Switzerland in Zurich. Like when they started kind of their bakery and like selling there and having like a constant kind of point of sale where they
mm,
are,
mm,
their business like took off or like
mm,
is working now, you know, like before it was a struggle and then they had that place and then it was working. So think about those kind of possibilities, you know,
mhm,
what you have there. Like, can you go like do you want to have like a shop? You want to have a cafe? You want to have like a factory tour thing? You want to
mhm, mhm.
see what's out there, and everything that's out there for longer time has like kind of a business plan and idea that is able to sustain in a way.
Yeah,
And but also don't forget like what's your song, you know, like what makes you unique,
yeah.
and what can you participate or contribute, not participate, what can you contribute into that kind of chocolate and cacao world besides like bringing nice chocolate and cacao to people.
Do you think that consumers, because chocolate is still sort of seen as, it's not a necessity product, sort of an afterthought, if it's a treat, things like that. But when it comes to beer and wine and bread and cheese, these are considered necessary products for most people. People have it every week, almost every day sometimes. Do you think that chocolate can be sort of considered more of a daily necessity as far as, part of your diet, part of your food? Do you think that might help? Or is
I
that,
don't see it, I don't see it in chocolate, but I see it in cacao, yes.
mm,
In chocolate, for sure it is. I mean, we were also like open during COVID times because we were producing like um what's the word for it? I miss like I'm missing the
COVID
name,
was
but
interesting because people weren't traveling, so they were spending money on things like that, chocolate
true,
and
true.
other ways to
And
enjoy their
it's
lives. Yeah.
yeah, but as a daily food, like I see it with cacao, and I think also you see it with like drinking chocolate and drinking cacao in the
Yeah.
world. That
Yeah.
really has its kind of well-deserved revival, I would say,
Yeah.
as like one of the first expressions of the plant itself,
Hmm.
and also like the whole like distribution in Europe, and after like the colonial during the colonial times and the kind of renaissance with all the
Like
nice
chocolate and cacao for
custom.
Mesoamericans, that was, in a lot of cultures, that was daily. That was part of
Yeah,
their
yeah.
their
And
their
and
diet,
still
everything. So,
and still is for some, you know,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
for
So
sure
it is
in
possible. It is
Peru where it's
possible.
like cold in the morning, or like also in Colombia. I was talking with a Colombiano in the bus station, like we were both waiting, and he was like super proud, like showing me his pictures of his farmer's breakfast, you know, like some plátanos and some eggs and like his
Mm,
chocolatito there, you know, like that's what he
mm,
drinks in the morning.
yeah. Yeah.
And if you take like the whole drinking chocolate and drinking cacao culture in
Yeah.
Mexico with
Yeah.
all its like colorfulness and flavorness and varieties, being hot, cold, being bicolor, being washed, being fermented, it's there, you know, and it's
Yeah.
it's something that I also see like with a lot of newer brands who sometimes are makers, sometimes aren't makers. They are successful because they kind of show like what cacao is in a way that is like consumable daily, and so people buy cacao and drinking chocolate more often because they consume it daily.
Yeah.
Because if you have like a 60 or 80 or even 100 gram like single origin bar, I don't think, or at least I'm not eating that bar in one go, you
No.
know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like take my time with that.
Yeah.
Like some bars are like 2, 3 years old, you know, and
Yeah.
sitting there in my library. and once a while I visit them and I experience like the flavor change of it. I have the remembrance of that with
Because
drinking chocolate, like cacao.
bean to bar is not just about chocolate, it's about cacao at the end of the day, right?
It
It's
is
all about the
cacao.
cacao.
It is about the cacao, and I think it's also about kind of moving volumes, hopefully. Like at least that's like the goal where I would love to see like more improvements, like to really like move like cacao, like get it over here, like
Hmm. Hmm.
being it beans, being it chocolate mass, being ready-made chocolate, like just bring it over here so that
Yeah,
like some kind of growth is happening there and also some kind
exactly.
of good living is happening there, like
Exactly.
because if you have ever been on those farms and seen those kind of super simple lives that those people kind of happily live, maybe because they don't know better or can't can't have it any better, I think it's important to like not just like take and also give back, and you can give back if you like if you make it like more valuable
Hmm.
for them to like cultivate,
Right.
and that's if the demand is there.
Exactly. They need buyers for their cacao. If they want to keep it going, sustain it, keep growing those trees,
Man,
there needs to be people on the other side who want to use the cacao. And so I think
on
that's a key aspect of the bean to bar world to grow is finding people to use that cacao, whether it's single origin shiny bars or drinking chocolate or in food, whatever, like get it out there, get people
and
to use it.
I remember a maker at the Eurobean festival, and he had like those I don't know how many single origin bean to bar chocolates, and he had like this one origin, I don't remember which one, but I was like, hey, cool, like where did you get those beans? Where like can I work with those beans? Like he was like, no, like a year ago I got like 10 kilos of those beans. And I was like, a year ago, like 10 kilos, like, man, like, what's happening? Like in 1 year, 10 kilos of like, what are you doing? Just like to having this big kind of library of single origin chocolates to see what's there, but do you actually want to move like volume
Mm,
and product? Like,
mm,
what is that? What are we doing here?
mm.
But
Interesting.
maybe maybe it's just like my kind of wild take on that. But in
Yeah,
the end, like hopefully people are thinking about like moving volume. And
yeah.
I myself thought about like just reducing like the kind of origins that I work with,
Yeah.
just to like push more volume for one origin. Like
Yeah.
because that's the best thing that somebody can do. Like I love people who just work with like one origin or maybe one farm and then grow it to even more, because then you have like the most impact that you can have. Like
Yeah.
people know that okay, this year he has like 2 tons, next year he has three, the year after that he has six. Like cool, we need to like expand our garden here. And I think about how can we do that? Hey, can
Mm,
you connect me with somebody who's like who can cook me with seedlings and the information? Can we do like a central fermentation here? And boom, 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 along like the whole value chain, you have like just this trickle down effect that's just amazing. Besides having like the pat on the back of like, yeah, cool, you have like 5 different origins and or they
right.
all taste different.
Right.
Is
Yeah, I
is
think there's
that
going to have to be some more diversity of products in the bean to bar world. And I would love to see drinking chocolate, more and more and more drinking chocolate.
it's
People
gonna
like
come, man, for sure.
drinking chocolate shops, no coffee, just drinking chocolate and
That
people get
that's
excited for that.
something that
That would
I
be
think
amazing.
I can almost guarantee that something like that is coming.
Yeah. That's
That's
been a dream of mine for like 15 years. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but I would love to have it or at least see more of that in the world. I think we
Mhm.
need that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
that would be incredible. So,
And I mean, I think you see it also like with those kind of cacao ceremonies
right.
and gatherings there. I see that you see that. I mean, we're always coming from this kind of Westerner types of point of view, where like we're searching for these kind of native old ceremonies
Mhm.
and kind of
Yeah, it
healing
can get kind of
things there.
controversial, those
Yeah,
things. But at the end of the day, they're if it's transparently traded and it's direct trade and they're using good quality cacao, keep doing
all
it,
good.
get it out there. That's beautiful.
I'm not saying that it's bad,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. No,
everything that
everyone
brings us
has
into
their
like a good
opinions.
direction, and
Yeah.
like more power to all the people who work in that way. If there is no like harm done in any kind of way, then like go for it. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to dance like naked somewhere around like a fire and like drink cacao.
It's not for everybody.
Um,
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody for sure. But I think like those are like the first kind of signs, that we're kind of going back to future or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, again, if they're using that good cacao and there's more people making it and more people want it, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, again, bean to bar is all about the cacao. It has to be about sustaining this incredible cacao and
Mm.
creating these sustainable business relationships so it keeps going. Otherwise, it's just going to fizzle off over and over again. And on your website, you go into some detail about sustainable packaging. That seems to be very important for you. So how difficult was it to find biodegradable packaging that you wanted? Was that a challenge? Or was it easier than you thought?
I would say like overall it's a challenge.
Mm,
Like finding like kind of Nature Flex wrapper or Nature Flex foil is not that hard. Not sure if everybody in the beginning can like buy like a foil wrapper, but you can for sure buy kind of open pouches of Nature Flex. There are for sure some kind of manufacturers nearby. If not, where is it? Should be somewhere near. Give me just a second. There are also like Chinese manufacturers. I was just at CJEP and there was like this one Chinese kind of packaging,
okay.
that symbol. It's not as soft and as nice as
Mm,
NatureFlex, but
mm,
it's for sure also like an alternative. So if nothing works, go to China and
mm,
ask there. But in terms of really finding, or yeah, let's first start with the finding and then the other like kind of where to put like the waste once you like
mhm.
consumed it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's the other side of things, you know.
Right.
Because so finding was very difficult, kind of like in terms of the pouches. It was easy. Armin from Corona hooked me up with a company in Germany. They were gladly to help me. I sent them the dimensions that I need, and they made those pouches for me at a price which was kind of okay. Not like it was, I would say for sure 8 times or 5 to 8 times more expensive than classical plastic, but it's perfect. You know, like Nature Flex
Mm,
is one of the best materials out there. Biodegradable at normal temperatures, no high temperatures and compostation
mm,
needed. Perfect. In terms of paper, you also have different kind of papers available that are more sustainable than others. Printing colors also the same thing.
right.
In terms of biodegradable stickers, the market now it's getting better, but back then it was really hard to find biodegradable sticker because with my bar, here you have like a Nips and sea salt bar. It's not, yeah.
Yep.
And I still need like this small
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
sticker there because otherwise it opens,
Right.
which could have been improved with like the die cut and everything, but that's
Mm,
another side. So think about
mhm,
like packaging design also if with like lashes that like interconnect and where you don't
mm,
need any stickers, because
mhm.
stickers is just another manual type of thing that somebody needs to do.
Yeah.
Um, when you're thinking about packaging for pralines or any like kind of thermoformed type of bioplastic forms, that's
Mm,
like where it's become like really hard,
mm,
because the more individual and the more kind of special you want it packaged, the more difficult it gets. It's with the NatureFlex kind of things, there are these like stand-up pouches, like transparent ones, which come in standard sizes depending on your manufacturer, which also work. But really being sustainable in packaging is very hard if you want to have the product visible. You know, if you don't
mm,
care about the visibility of product and everything is just like a box or anything, then I
mm,
think easier. But when it comes to visibility of product and the interconnection of like paper or carton with bioplastic, the availability there is really sucks. And
mm.
if it's available, the price is really high. So
Right. Right.
the cheapest that you can go is plastic for sure. And if you think about the waste of plastic and the waste of bioplastic, it ends up in the same kind of way. In Austria, it's burned either
Mm,
way,
mm,
because you can't throw it like on the organic waste, because it's not reaching the higher temperatures, or it's
mm,
detected as plastic, so it's gonna be sorted out.
mm.
And so some people say, no, we're not going to use like bioplastic because we rather use like PP because that can be recycled. And that's like our participation to like a more sustainable planet, which for me is kind of a weird way, understandable way in terms of the economic side, a weird way in a way where when you want to produce kind of a kind of more sustainable product, I would rather take like the route that supports the sustainable path in the future, even though it's now burned or whatever,
Mm,
than put another piece of plastic for the end consumer out there in the world,
mm,
which degrades in I don't know how many hundred of years or
mm.
100,000 of years, you know?
Yeah,
Because
it is very difficult because, bean to bar
because
chocolate is very labor intensive.
if nobody starts, we're not gonna end up anywhere near where
Mm,
we want to be, you
mm,
know? If everybody says, no, I'm gonna use plastics because I can recycle that and it's cheaper, and everybody says that, like, when is the kind of organic plastic revolutions gonna be like there, you
mm,
know? If
mm.
there's no demand for that, then nothing's gonna change.
Right.
And then if we are waiting on like the government or anybody else or
Mm,
regulations to change, like I've been in Fachpark in Nuremberg, and I've seen like the packaging world. It's like wild. If like 1%, no, let's say 5% of that whole exhibition was sustainable, then it would have been like it's much, you know, like that's a
mm,
lot.
mm,
It's like it's plastic all over
mm,
everywhere,
mm,
everywhere. The booths that had kind of a more sustainable solution, like a lot of people there because the demand
mm,
or the interest
mm.
of people is there.
So it's easy to criticize industrial chocolate, multinational companies, things like that. But are there any pet peeves about the bean to bar sector? Things that you think can be improved, things that I think you mentioned a couple of them, sort of the
Yeah, I think I went through a few of them. I think like don't get too caught up in like the details of everything, and think a little bit more about how can you bring something to the consumer that the consumer enjoys at a price point that he still kind of enjoys,
Mm,
and that allows you to like make more chocolate, make more cacao, you know, like I
mm,
think that's something that is people are sometimes so like, I don't know, caught up into like flavor profiles and beans from there and beans from whatever and this and that, that I think the kind of fun is kind of lost in the whole thing, you know?
mm,
And it's sometimes it's more like a thing of like preaching to a choir, you know? It's not about that. It's more about like finding new people that you can like tell new things to. Like it's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
we can like go back and forth about like what we love about bean to bar and everything, but in the end it's also the question like how can we get like our word there out there to
Yeah,
people, like with
yeah,
the work that you do and also I do, and other people, influencers and all the makers for sure also are doing, like how can we make more of that to like get out there, you know?
yeah. No,
And
sometimes it does seem a bit too insular, and we need to keep looking out, getting more people into it, putting ourselves out there, you know.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've said it to a lot of people, like it doesn't make sense to like from kind of if this is 100%, it doesn't make sense to like convince those kind of 5 people that you already or that percentage that already know what bean to bar or good
Yeah,
chocolate is. It's
yeah,
way more important to like convince those people who don't know, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And the question is like, okay, what kind of topics are those people interested? Are they interested in
Mm,
like
mm,
another single origin kind of flavor, or are
right,
they more like interested like how chocolate is
right.
made? Or are they interested in the story of the farmer? Are they
Mm-hmm,
interested in the
mm-hmm,
story of the way? And
mm-hmm,
sometimes we're so caught up in our own processes, and I see it in myself as well. Like
mm,
I'm not excluding myself from that. It's just like sometimes we just get like too just like focused on one thing, and we I lose like the overview of everything, and I was
mm.
like, yeah,
That's a
cool.
good point. Yeah.
If I would have just like took my handy like my phone and say like, hey, cool, today like I'm going to like guide you through the process of making
Mm,
chocolate,
mm,
like of of roasting beans, and I just gonna press live and be like live for an hour, and just like
It's true.
having my phone sitting there,
Yeah.
being live for an hour on
There's so
Instagram and
much.
having the dot up there, like being live.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
has way more, maybe way more,
That's a
more
good point.
influence than so. It's like that, those kind of things.
Yeah, because there's so much garbage on social media, like stupid things, that it's like, why not put that up there and maybe some people will see it. It's better than a lot of the stuff out there anyway,
And
right?
I think what people also always like forget is like the bad algorithm, and the algorithm is like not showing my content, and the algorithm that, and there was an update in the algorithm, and now it doesn't work. No, it's just like your content is shit, like my content is shit, like you just have to like, no, really, that's how it is
Yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
That I think like the TikTok generation and the TikTok app is like the best
Mm,
the best expression of that, like
mm.
besides like just like catching the people with a hook and stuff. But in the end, like if you have something interesting to tell, interesting to show, and you're able to craft it interestingly in a good way, which in this multimedia kind of world that we are living in is
Right.
getting harder and harder, because you gotta have like really crisp video and really
Yeah.
nice storytelling and really thought out. Man, what do I tell
It
you?
is
But like
interesting
other
though,
people it
because
is.
if you're
And
making chocolate, you're a chocolate maker, you work with your hands, all of a sudden now you have to be a professional at storytelling
everything, like the
and video
different kind of
making, and
hats that you have to wear as
not
like in
easy.
starting
Yeah.
it's not easy, no. So
Yeah.
like that's why I said, like if you're able to like tell your story in a way that is getting reaching people, and like
Yeah.
and sparking something in the people, then you're gonna be successful.
Mm, mm.
And it's so funny, like, and now like I see all those like craft makers getting over to TikTok, and like I'm a TikTok consumer myself. I don't
Are
produce
you?
produce much of t on TikTok, but man, like that app, I for sure like at least half an hour
Mm,
a day I invest on TikTok, just like to stay
wow.
on that kind of used side of things. And I
Mm,
see all those like makers and chocolate like companies coming on TikTok and trying their like Facebook things and Instagram things,
mm.
and it's just like, man, like people are not interested in seeing like a melanger move. Like on Instagram, people are not interested anymore, like on seeing like a melanger move. But like in
Right.
in this kind of TikTok world, nobody is interested in that. And it's
Interesting.
hard. I mean, I think you've seen it with Frankly Delicious. I mean, they had like this wonderful kind of Instagram success,
Mm,
and they were like live almost every day on TikTok packing orders, and they were trying to push everything out
mm,
there. They had like this problem, I think, with scale, I would
mm.
say, because you need some kind of
To be
bigger
honest, I don't
scale.
know. Like I hate social media. I hate Instagram. I don't have TikTok. So
I
it's
understand you
tough. It's tough for
fully.
me because that's just not my thing, you know?
I
So
I understand you fully, but
yeah.
I think maybe you just have to find something that is able to
I have
put
to find, yeah, I
your
have to
work
find
that
something
you.
that I enjoy doing and putting out there, something that works for me.
I mean, hopefully you're enjoying this. I'm not sure, but I think
No,
that you're
this
enjoying
I
it. Yeah.
am,
So
yeah.
like, yeah,
The
and then
interviews I love.
what's the best thing? I mean, you can do
Yeah.
like a clip of some interesting question that you asked or that you shared
Yeah.
or I shared, and you put it on TikTok, and you find the nerds there,
Yeah.
like that are interested in that kind of
Or I
thing.
need to
So
make enough money so I can hire someone to do that stuff for me.
that's
Who
that's the
knows how
other side
who
of
knows how to
things, of
do it.
course. Of course, of course.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's making that possible and having the
yeah,
funds for that. That's the other challenge, and that's what a lot of like bean to bar makers are also facing. Like I
yeah.
see that in myself. Like
Because
I
this,
I actually would need to like do like in the quiet times of the year where a lot of other things are happening.
yeah,
I would need to make like the content for the whole year,
yeah,
and then just like boom, 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 it's already planned out there. I don't have to do anything, and everything that's coming in between, like where I feel like, cool, I'm in the workshop today, I'm roasting beans. Cool, that's also coming in there.
right.
But you need to have that ready, and
Yeah.
don't think that thing kind of comes while you're making chocolate, because while you're making chocolate, a lot of other things are coming besides social media.
Do you offer tours? Do you offer classes? Do you have some sort of educational component to your business right now? Or do you plan to
Yeah,
have more of that?
I have tours, I have tastings, I have workshops.
Okay.
I have Soon I will be like in a school and making chocolate with them because they're doing
Oh,
like
nice.
a year project where they're thinking about starting or virtually or imaginably starting a company, a chocolate company.
Is
And
this like a college or what kind of school is it?
it's like yeah, it's like the economy how do you say it? Like the economy side of their class where they
Okay.
do
Oh,
all
okay,
the
okay. Economics. Yeah, yeah.
economics and they're thinking about okay how to run a business,
That's
what do
cool.
we
Yeah,
need,
yeah, yeah.
what do you, where do we get beans and everything, and then like I'm there for like the practical side of things so that
Mm,
they actually like
that's really
make
good.
some chocolate and see the difficulty and
That's
besides
awesome.
theoretical and the economical side of
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
But yeah, and I think that's also what you need to do, you know, not like doing that, but having workshops, having like
yeah,
getting the word out there, you know.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I recently did a tasting and I was like, cool, why don't I just like live stream that tasting and all the
Mm,
things that I share there, I just share
mm,
with the internet because if
mm-hmm.
I only reach like 5 people, I reach even more than than if I wouldn't have not gone live, you know.
Right, right, exactly.
And I don't hold many secrets, if any at all. So
Wonderful. And what are the goals you have for the future of your business? Or what are you wishing to achieve? How would you articulate that?
making more chocolate, man. That's my goal for not this season, of this season for sure also, but the next starting season is like trying to optimize my business
Scaling
and
up.
automize and
Mm,
scale in a
mm,
way where I make my space, make space so that I can spend more time on crafting bars and
mm-hmm.
having talks, doing I don't know, I have like I think 5 or 6 kind of interviews that I did already with video,
Yeah, I
with
think I saw a
audio
few of them.
that
That was good. Yeah,
that I want to launch, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And it's something where I really admire and appreciate the work that you do, that you're in regular basis, like interview people like me and like us, so that we share our stories, because I think our stories are worth shareable. And
definitely. Yeah,
if another maker like takes itty bitty things from there and has it easier, even better. And
yeah,
if more people understand like what we do, what I do, what AHERZ stands for, what
yeah,
Joseph and the Bean
yeah,
to Bar World stands for, even better. And I think like get the word out there
yeah.
to
No, that's
to
what I hope,
grow.
especially for the general public. Hopefully people stumble across these videos, they spark an interest, they start listening because, when they're in the store and they're purchasing your bars, most people they just take a few seconds and they buy it or they
Yeah.
don't, right? And a lot of them don't go to the website, they don't read your stories. So to have more of that out there, I think is beneficial because more people will
No,
stumble
it's
upon it.
perfect, and it's something that you do once and that lives on the internet
Yeah, yeah.
for ages, you know,
Yeah.
if you want that.
Hmm.
And yeah, besides that, I would say like really going deep into myself and seeing where I want to see like a hertz to go. You know, like I've seen a lot, I've experimented a lot. I know some pet peeves, I know some things that work, that don't work. I made the mistakes. I still have a lot of mistakes to make for sure.
Yeah.
And really see where my song kind of where the next verse of that song is, or what that next verse is.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that, because in the end, like the clearer the vision and the clearer the path, and the more knowledge you have about the thing that you want to do, the more likely it is that you're going to succeed and you're going to end up where you actually imagined to end up. Otherwise, you end up where life takes you. I mean, that's happened someday,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that
Yeah.
just life takes you and puts you somewhere, or where one door closes, another opens. But I think that's something that I want to do in the next year or in the next
Wonderful.
time.
Excellent. And what's the best way for people to connect with you, connect with your business, purchase your bars? Where do you sell?
I mean, if you're in Austria, reach out. Like my number is on my website, www.aherz.at or Aherz Chocolate. On Instagram, I'm aherz.at, or my personal one is aherz.michi.
Hmm.
So feel free to reach out. I guess you're linking all those things in the show notes or wherever you're linking. There's always like the Bean to Bar map that wonderful Joseph
Yeah,
created there,
check it
and
out.
that interlinks all of us, be it like farmers or makers or just like shops, all those chocolate people out there. And yeah, if you're in Austria, like I travel around and am on bigger markets and also regional markets here around Vienna.
Mm, mm.
My small workshop, my company is based near Vienna. So if you're in Vienna, Austria, feel free to reach out. The nearest train station is like 5 to 7 minutes with car, and
Okay.
I can pick you up, or you just walk, which is also a nice walk. But anyhow, that's how people can reach me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, me. It was so nice to talk to you and learn your story. And I hope you keep doing what you're doing and see a lot of progress in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Keep it up,
Awesome.
Joseph. Peace,
All right.
people.
All the
Have a nice
best.
one.
Take care. Download the free Bean to Bar app to connect with incredible chocolate makers from around the world. Also, be sure to visit beantobarworld.com, your portal for all things fine chocolate, virtual tastings, free learning resources, research, and much more. Subscribe to the newsletter to stay in touch and donate to the free app and free resources here. Contact me for any chocolate related questions you may have.